Today is all about watches that suck to own. Let's get into it. Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Today is an extremely fascinating show because it's all about watches that suck. Over the years, I've definitely bought watches that I love, but lurking in the background, there's a little voice that says to me, "This watch sucks!" Shut up, voice. But today, this list, even though the watches may be great, there's a big sucky part. And I think it's time we gotta move on, eh? Are you sucky watches ready? Let's go. Right, so the first watch that does suck to own is an F91W. Now this watch you can still buy for around £10. It was first released in 1989 and has been sold, I don't know, 70, 80 million times over. It has an amazing iconic look to it, and even though the battery life is as weak as my nana's tea, we love it. It looks like the late 80s to me. What a Casio should look like, and has the #1 complication that most of us want to see in a Casio, a stopwatch. And may I remind you that for £10, this watch is only going to lose around 30 seconds a month, which is a prime example why when quartz first came out in the 70s, the Swiss watch industry were panicking. Anyway, for all its greatness and retro loveliness, there's a big reason why this sucks, especially for someone like me that has, well, let's just say a lot of watches. You don't need anything more than an F91W. That is the joke of this thing. This watch sucks because it makes you look at the money you've spent on all of your other watches. Should I have bothered? Sometimes this watch makes me a little angry because I've got watches in the watch box that cost a fair few amount of pennies that aren't getting the wrist time they probably should. Damn you, F91W! Now these are all pretty popular watches, okay? And most of us are gonna probably own one of them. The next watch that sucks to own for me is a watch that I have lauded and praised over the years, especially on my channel. And that is the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical. This watch is no longer as affordable as it used to be, going up around £250. But this watch for me epitomizes the greatness of Hamilton. It shows that they've been around for a while and they take very good design cues from watches they've made in the past. Not only watches from the past, but military watches from the past. I love military tool watches. But for £500, which is what it costs now, it's still only 50 meters water resistant. Now I see a field watch as a anything watch. Can be worn in the desert, in the jungle, and should be worn underwater. Well, with only a rating of 50 meters, it really doesn't make me confident enough to take it anywhere. And this is why this one sucks a bit. All field watches really should have a water rating of 100 meters minimum. And when you're spending £500 for a Hamilton watch that is a sports watch, something's not quite right here. It sucks. Now, for anyone that's been into their watches, luxury watches, will know about crime rate. With me, particularly with our capital city. Yes, watch theft has gone up 40% this year, which is lunacy, to the point of where it's been highlighted on mainstream TV. There's no way I'd ever wear a very recognizable watch on show there. So one of my favorite Rolexes is the GMT Master 2. I mean, look at it. It is a beautiful bit of kit, isn't it? First came out in the 50s for the Pan American pilots, but this watch is like a beacon. Ding, ding, ding. If you've got this on show, it is easily recognizable and spotted from about, I don't know, 60 yards away. If I was lucky enough to own one, I don't think I'd ever want to wear it. And if I did, it would be under about 18 cuffs. I'd have to wear a lot of layers of clothing. And then it defeats the object of wearing it because the amount of times I have to pull every sleeve up to see the watch, it's just a bit tiring. This is a watch I'd only wear for best, and will be staying in one venue for the duration. It's a watch I'd be a little bit nervous about if someone looked at it and said, "Very nice Rolex, my friend." It would get me thinking, why is he talking about my watch? Does he want to take it from me? He's gonna take it, isn't he? But if there are places around where you live you don't feel like you can wear it, maybe sell it, get an F91W, and maybe take your family on a fantastic holiday instead.
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Now, when I started my collecting journey, there was one dive watch that you needed to own, and that was the Seiko SKX. And those people weren't wrong. These watches were only about 160, 170 pounds. They were 200 meter certified dive watches and always be reliable, but could also take a beating. I've still got this watch. I still love it, but whenever I put this on, two things scream at me. For the last 8 to 10 years, I've been searching for that perfect dive watch, and although the Tudor Black Bay 58 has taken my heart, there have been a lot of dive watches come and go in my collection since buying that SKX. My advice for anyone that still has an SKX, keep it, because one day you'll take it out of the watch box, dust it off, put it on your wrist and think to yourself, so this is the watch I've been after all these years. You already owned it.
All right, oh, right.
The PRX. Now, I know a lot of you own this watch and a lot of you love this watch. And let's be fair, it's a watch that is mimicking a luxury watch at a semi-affordable price. When the automatic version of this watch first came out, it had the waffle dial and the same coloured dial as the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. Tissot weren't trying to hide it. Stocks of the Royal Oak had risen to the highest point. Time for the Swatch Group to make some extra dollar. It gets a semi-pass because the PRX is a watch that Tissot made back in the 70s. Doesn't really look like it, but still. And back in the 70s, they were copying the Royal Oak. But the big thing for me is the movement. The Swatch Group has made bundles of cash imitating an Omega Speedmaster in a plastic, well, bioceramic plastic case, costing them about £3 to make, and they charge around £270 each. A lot of you guys, unfortunately, have been mugged off with this, but for me, the worst thing the Swatch Group have done is with the Powermatic 80, because that movement is made with plastic parts and therefore is not really meant to last very long. Goes against that mechanical watch ethos where you can pass down your watches to generations. Not only that, but the watch cannot be regulated unless it's taken back to Tissot. For Tissot to do that, it's a bit sneaky. So in short, as long as your PRX is working nice and good, everyone's happy.
But remember, your watch has got plastic bits in it and it won't last very long.
Sweet! It sucks to own the G-Shock GW5000U. This is for everyone that has not held or worn one of these watches before. In the comments section below, I always get, why would I spend that much money when a GMW5610U costs half the price and has the same module in it? I'll tell you, shall I? The 5000U was a Japanese domestic model. The 5000U is a premium version of that 5610U. Yes, that watch looks like the first one that came out in 1983 with that red frame. I do love that. The look is great, but this watch is housed in a stainless steel case like the very first one in 1983 before mass production started and they realized they could make a G-Shock out of resin. Also has a screw-in case back like the originals, plus the resin of this watch is of a far higher quality and softer and suppler, is that a word? Suppler? Than the 5610U. It sucks to own this because we know this is the best G-Shock square around, but if you've never held this watch, you wouldn't have any clue. It's one of those secrets only us 5000U owners know about, but sometimes it does suck. The last one goes out to Grand Seiko owners because I know how amazing Grand Seikos are. I know and appreciate, like you, what goes into a Grand Seiko. The hand finishing, the hand assembling, the innovations, the accuracy, the high beat and spring drive movements are absolutely incredible machines. We are talking movement finishing and case finishing that Rolex would never bother doing because Grand Seiko take everything to 4 or 5 levels above everyone else. Yes, they may make too many of these watches. They do limited upon limited upon limited editions. But if we take the Snowflake, an absolutely incredible watch, beautiful and fragile dial, mimicking the snowscapes of the mountains seen from the studio windows of Grand Seiko in Japan. Now, if you haven't invested your time looking into Grand Seiko, looking at how these watches are made, you're just not going to have the appreciation. And that can suck sometimes, because trying to explain this all the time to people can be tiring. Also, we got to talk about Joe Public. When they go into an authorized dealer of Seiko, the watches on show tend not to go above £1,000, but just them seeing Seiko on the dial of a Grand Seiko, after you telling them the price, well, they may be close to fainting. I know how amazing Grand Seikos are, and I know a lot of you owners do too. Sometimes it sucks because we're always having to defend Grand Seiko. They're awesome! So there we go. Watches that we may love but suck sometimes to own. Are there any watches you have that you really do like, but sometimes you feel they could be a bit sucky? It's quite an interesting subject to talk about, because there are no perfect watches out there, but do those issues stick out like a sore thumb? Thank you so much for watching till the end. Click here to join the Mad Watch Collector channel. Look down here and click the link to get some merch. But more importantly for me, stay on the algorithmic merry-go-round and watch this one. This is great. Took me ages, this one. Go on, click it. Click it!